Good evening and welcome to CYC News for the 29th of April 2018 and the 24th of Baramuda 17:34 AM. I'm Andrew Botros. In today's headlines, Macron opens the door to a new Iran deal in talks with Trump. Waffle House shooting hero James Shaw Jr. raises $165,000 for the victims. After searching for more than 40 years, authorities say an ex-cop is a Golden State killer. Turkish court sentences journalist to years in prison for a so-called terrorism charges. World War II bomb was successfully defused after evacuation in central Berlin. FDA re-examines safety of controversial of new drug. And no goals for Ronaldo, but Real Madrid rallies beat Bayern 2-1 in the Champions League. But first to France. President Emmanuel Macron and US President Donald Trump have indicated they want to aim for a new deal to curb Iran's regional ambitions and ballistic missiles program that would run alongside the existing international nuclear pact. Macron, speaking at a joint news conference with Trump while on the state visit to Washington, acknowledged a disagreement between them on the 2015 Iran deal, which Trump has criticized harshly and repeatedly threatened to ditch. But Macron has said that he was confident that they are overcoming it by deciding to work towards a deal, an overall deal that will enable them to deal with the nuclear issue. Macron, whose visit to Washington is aimed to be part of urging Trump to stick in the 2015 accord, said the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action should be seen as the first pillar of a broader framework that would also restrict Iran's regional influence, its ballistic missiles and its nuclear activities post-2025 when the existing deals expired. Trump has threatened to pull out and reimpose US sanctions on Iran by May 12 unless major changes are made to the agreement, which capped Iran's nuclear program in exchange for relief from economic sanctions. According to Trump, it remains in question whether or not it will be possible to do a new deal with solid foundations. Trump also issued out an ominous threat should Tehran resume its nuclear program, saying, "If Iran threatens us in any way, they will pay a price like few countries have ever paid." In the US state of Tennessee, where just hours after Pride, a rifle from gunmen who'd opened fire at the Waffle House in Tennessee, James Shaw Jr. launched a fundraiser to help the victims' families. That GoFundMe campaign by Thursday afternoon had ranked in just under $165,000, 11 times its goal, since the attack on Sunday left 4 people dead. Meantime, the Antioch, Tennessee restaurant has pledged to donate all its proceeds for the next month to the families of the deceased and the living victims. And a New York man launched an online fundraiser to benefit Shaw that had raised $175,000 from more than 5,500 donors. Tennessee lawmakers this week also paid tribute to Shaw, 29, for his heroism and his compassion for the victims. The State General Assembly officially recognized his heroism along with his inclination for honesty in a joint resolution. Still in the United States, Joseph James DeAngelo has been arrested for a series of killings, rapes and assaults in the 1970s and 1980s, which spawned an investigation that lasted more than 40 years. Sacramento District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert announced DeAngelo's arrest and said, "We all knew that we were looking for a needle in a haystack. It is fitting that today is National DNA Day. We found the needle in the haystack and it was right here in Sacramento." DeAngelo, 72, was taken into custody on Tuesday evening in the Sacramento suburb of Citrus Heights. Police allege that he is so-called Golden State Killer, who is believed to have committed 12 killings and at least 50 rapes in at least 10 countries in California. Detectives matched and discarded DNA sample from his home to evidence from the investigation, according to the law enforcement officials who gathered outside the crime lab where the key break was uncovered. DeAngelo was arrested not far from where the Golden State Killer has committed some of his crimes. While officials would not say what has led them to seek DeAngelo's DNA, they said that his name emerged in the connection with the crimes last week. He was arrested without incident. He was also accused of murder by authorities in Orange and Ventura counties, according to documents and officials. A Turkish court has sentenced 14 employees of a newspaper that has been critical of President Tayyip Recep Erdogan's government to prison, convicting them of terrorism charges. The lengthy sentences have added to increasing fears over press freedom, particularly with national elections taking place in June. According to Turkish state news agency Anadolu, the court handed down sentences of up to 8 years to staff members of Cumhuriyet newspaper, one of the country's largest remaining independent publications. The defendants were among over a dozen journalists and staff from Cumhuriyet to go on the trial, accused of supporting terror organizations in the wake of 2016 botched coup to oust Erdogan. The staff of the paper, which had been long critical of the president, were found guilty of supporting the network of Fethullah Gulen, a Turkish cleric living in exile in the US. Erdogan claims Gulen has his supporters were behind the coup attempt, something the Pennsylvania-based cleric has denied. Over to Berlin, police successfully defused an unexploded World War II bomb after it had been brought to disruption to the German capital. Police have since confirmed that members of the public can return to their homes and buildings inside the 800-meter radius of the site that had been earlier evacuated as a precaution. The bomb was discovered during construction work near the city's central train station, which has now reopened. Earlier, local bus and train routes were disrupted during the operation, while roads surrounding the station were closed. The evacuation also led to the country's economic ministry and federal intelligence service being evacuated. The Natural History Museum was closed while parts of the local university were cordoned off. In health news, the Food and Drug Administration says that re-examining the safety of medication that was approved despite concerns that were not enough known about the drug's risks. In response to questioning at a budget hearing last week, FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb told members and Congress that he would take another look at NewPlazid, which is the only drug approved to treat hallucinations and delusions associated with Parkinson's disease psychosis. A highlight in the recent CNN report, the medication has been cited as a so-called suspect medication in hundreds of deaths voluntarily reported by caregivers, doctors, and other medical professionals since it hit the market. The FDA told CNN this week that the agency had already begun conducting a new evaluation of the medication when Gottlieb was questioned about it at the hearing. The agency said that review had started several weeks ago. And in sport, it wasn't just Bayern Munich night, but the Champions League magic continues for Real Madrid. The German powerhouse kept Cristiano Ronaldo off the score sheet but still lost the Spanish Giants 2-1 in the first leg of their Champions League semi-final in Munich, paying the price of the hosts' missed chances of defensive blunder. Ronaldo's streak of scoring in 11 straight Champions Leagues indeed came to an end. The twice defending champions and the record 12-time winners of Europe's top club competition acquired goals from Marcelo in the 44th minute and substitute Marco Asensio in the 57th to offset Joshua Kimmich's opener at the 28th. Bayern boss Jupp Heynckes was left to rue what might have been. And that is all for CYC News today. A reminder that you can watch this news bulletin again throughout the week on YouTube. I'm Andrea Botros from CYC Studios in Sydney, Australia. Have a good night and God bless.